Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the City of Neenah Common Council meeting for Wednesday, August 3rd. We'll begin with the roll call. Please indicate your presence on your roll call device and indicate your presence when your name is called.
Alderperson Boyette.
Here.
Orchard.
Here.
Ostrom.
Here.
Lendrum.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Skirms.
Here.
Steiner.
Here.
Stevenson.
Here.
Everybody.
Kathy, push it again.
Hey, she's here.
Okay, thank you. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Alderman Steiner.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
The first item on the agenda is the introduction of a new Assistant Public Works Superintendent, Trevor Griesbach, and that will be done by Public Works Superintendent Greg Radke.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, department heads, citizens, guests. Big thing the way I like to work is I like to put a face to a name. I like to know who I'm talking to a point. I'm going to keep it short because I don't want to embarrass them. We're too bad, but I'd like to introduce you to our new Assistant Public Works Superintendent, Trevor Griesbach. He's been with us since March of 15, so a little over 7 years experience. He's got a lot to learn, but he's got a lot of operational knowledge, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of years. So, it's all yours.
Pleasure to meet all of you. Like Greg said, I've been here 7 years, and I'm definitely looking forward to learning more about what he does and how he does it. There's a lot of different things that I know that I can learn, and he's a great superintendent that I know I can learn a lot from. Any of you have any questions for me?
I guess not, but we're very happy that you joined us. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting you all.
The next item on the agenda is introduction confirmation of mayor's appointments. Is there any objection to unanimous consent for the approval of Marge Bates as a poll worker for the 2022-23 election? Seeing none, that is so ordered. Next item on the agenda is approval of the council proceedings and approval of the committee of the whole minutes. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of either of those approvals? Seeing none, that is also so ordered. The next item on the agenda are public hearings. I will open the public hearing for consideration of installation of sanitary sewer laterals and lead Water service replacement for properties served on Hunt Avenue, Madison to Cecil, Madison Street, Radine to Zemlock, Nicolay Boulevard, First to Boileau. I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. Radine Avenue, Winneconne to Cecil, and Zemlock Avenue, Winneconne to Cecil. And I'd like to open that public hearing if there's anybody here who would like to speak on that. Please come forward and give your name and address at the podium.
Mark Westfall, address 945 Hunt Avenue here in Neenah. I guess maybe I did misunderstood the letter. I thought we were coming here tonight to get more information on the project, timelines, and things like that. So where do we get that type of information, or will that be presented later on in this forum?
Mr. Westfall, we have a table out in the lobby, and one of our engineers is available out there and
Okay.
can walk you through
The
the
letter
process.
didn't say that. It said to come to this public
Sure.
hearing. Okay. Has the project been bid for yet?
We open bids next Wednesday on the project.
Were these federal funds through the Build Back Better program or act?
I would leave that to the water utility director who secured the funds on the water side.
To everyone, these funds are through the Safe Drinking Water Loan Program. They are actually forgivable loans from the federal government that are actually administered through the Department of Natural Resources.
So if bids haven't gone out yet, we have no idea who the contractor is or will be.
That's correct.
Okay. And they have all the information out at that table there?
Yep, they can walk you through what the process is and what's involved in this project.
So how are the citizens supposed to have any say on this? Is this going to be a vote? Is there going to be any type of other interaction?
Well, this is the opportunity to let the council know what you think about the project. Since there is a special assessment related to the sewer laterals, the public hearing process is used.
I mean, on
for
the
that.
surface, I'm probably for it, but obviously I had questions. I thought that's what this
Sure.
forum was for. To give us that information and to give us, so we could make an informed decision.
Sure.
So now I have to talk to those people out there. And then the forum will be over by the time I'm ready to come back
Well,
in.
I mean, I can speak generally, and I guess I'm not sure how much back and forth you're looking for, Mayor. But
And I'm not trying to create debate.
I know, I get that. Essentially, the project, or the streets listed on this project, had previously had sewer mains and water mains replaced. As part of that work, the services or laterals were stubbed out from those mains to get them out from the roadway, so that if the homeowner at some point in the future needed to do work on that lateral, if they had issues, then at least we wouldn't be tearing into a relatively new road. With Director Mock securing the funding on the water side, we looked at what streets it made sense for us to tackle without seriously impacting, street work or adding more utility replacement work. And so we identified these streets as streets that the laterals could be completed since they were partway there already. And given the processes involved that the contractors are using, really try and minimize the disturbance to the property also.
When this initial work was done quite a few years ago, we had an option at that time to.
I'm sorry, if you're speaking, you have to speak at the microphone.
I understood that several years ago when the initial work was done, we had an option then to have work done or not.
That's correct. And some
And-
people did that,
And but most didn't.
most did not.
So
yes.
now if this does go through, we won't have the option, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. When would this work, if it does go through, when would the work be completed or started? What's the timeline? This year yet?
This
Next
year yet, yep.
This year yet,
Yeah,
this fall?
we'd be looking to complete it this fall, early winter, yep.
Without knowing who the contractor is, We don't know, will they be ripping up the whole yards? Will they do horizontal boring? Or will they be lining the old pipes with new pipes?
The
And
method,
minimize the,
yeah, the method most commonly used nowadays for sewer lateral replacements is called pipe bursting. Essentially, they go through, they create a hole in the floor, tie into the existing lateral, and then pull a new pipe right through that existing lateral. And then
minimize the amount of
That's
digging
right.
and whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Anyone else?
I'm Terry Michael, 783 Madison Street, Neenah. I had a lot of questions, like Mark here too, we were under the understanding that we were coming, a lot of people here are probably from Madison Street. You know, something I'm wondering too is if we're running these pipes through the center of the pipes, why are we changing out the lead pipe? Because the lead pipe's still gonna be there for our fresh water.
The method, the pipe bursting method, they can pull the new water service line right with the sewer lateral replacement. So they get both of those service lines replaced in one shot.
Okay, but is the lead pipe still gonna be down underground with the other piping?
Yeah, do you want to walk through that one, Tony?
That is a good question. The existing no-dig method, so pipe bursting, actually replaces the lead service line and then they cut it off in the basement. We're also bidding regrounding of all the houses with this as well for safety.
Okay, that was my next question.
So yes, the lead service will essentially be abandoned under the ground, that is correct, but it will no longer be in use. Ultimately, our goal is to get the lead out in the entire city, just for everyone's safety. But also too, we're finding out more and more that these services are leaking out in the city, so we'd like to replace them now. Same with the sanitaries.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone else? If not, I will close the public hearing on that item and move on to B, and open the public hearing for that consideration of Resolution 2022-13, creating a City of Neenah Tax Increment District Number 12 and approving the district project plan. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on that? Anyone here who would like to speak on that? Seeing no one, I will close that public hearing. Moving on to item number 5, the Plan Commission report pertaining to the public hearings. The Plan Commission meeting of June 28th, 2022. Minutes can be found on the city's website. Alderman Steiner.
Thank you, Mayor. The commission recommends council approve resolution 2022-13, creating City of Neenah Tax Increment District Number 12 and approving the district project plan, and I so move.
Alderman Steiner moves. Is there a second?
Second. Second. I don't know how we did that, but
Alderman Skirms seconds that. Is there any discussion? Alderman Skirms, did you want?
no, that was my.
Okay.
Second.
Alderman Stevenson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I don't know where to look to confirm this. The recommended changes that Director Hayes requested for the capital improvement 5-year plan, I'm assuming have been updated in our projected cost Appendix B for the TIF 12 project plan. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Great. Thank you.
Are there any further questions or discussion? Seeing, Alderman Erickson.
I just have a question. Will this come up again when we talk about the capital improvement plan, or is this separate from the capital improvement plan? We discussed it the other night as part of the plan. Maybe.
Yeah, so this would be separate than any capital improvement. So the project plan identifies projects much more generally than the CIP does.
So amendments would be made to for the capital improvement plan, not at this point, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 9-0. Moving on, item number 6 is a public input session on the CIP. This is for discussion and consideration and regarding matters related to the 2022 to 2026 capital improvement program, including potential amendments to that program. Is there anyone here who would like to speak regarding that? Anyone here who would like to speak on that? Seeing no one, I will, at this point, now turn it over to Council President Stevenson for the Committee of the Whole report pertaining to the public input session and the review of our CIP.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council met in the Committee of the Whole forum structure on June 7th and reviewed the entire 2022 to 26 capital improvement plans that had been presented by Mayor Lang. And at this time, and we had a number of potential amendments identified, but no motions or no actions were taken during the Committee of the Whole meeting. So at this time, I would move to approve the 2022 to 2026 capital improvement plan as presented to the council by Mayor Lang. You want me to do that electronically?
There's a motion and a second. Alderman Stevenson?
So given the fact we have a motion on the floor, I'm going to move to amend the 5-year capital plan first based on the list and series of recommendations from Director Hayes as it relates to the newly formed TIF District Number 12. And in the spirit of brevity, I would ask to make a number of 4 amendments all in a single motion. And if any council member would like to take one out, we could always amend the amendment. But at this time, I would move to amend and increase Jewelers Park Drive, the kayak launch, from $35,000 to $45,000 and have that in 2024. I would include in that motion to move $400,000 of Jewelers Park Drive curb gutter and storm from 2023 to 2024. And at the same time, decrease Jewelers Park Drive overlay from $400,000 to $250,000 and move it from 2023 to 2024. And the final action in this motion would be to decrease Jewelers Park Drive from $568,000 to $150,000 and move it from 2025 to 2024 and decrease the decrease in requested funds is due to the work already being completed and because the TID will take on more of this cost, and that's my motion. Wait, you don't want me to do electronic? We don't have to. We don't have to amend by.
Second.
So Borchert seconds.
There's a motion and a second. Alderman Erickson?
Yes, this is just a housekeeping matter. The date of the committee of the whole meeting, I do not believe it was June 7th.
July 7th.
So, just in agenda.
Okay, so July 25th then.
Thank you for that. So there's a motion and a second regarding those additions. All fall under the first item for potential amendment. And we'll take a voice vote on that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
If I still have the floor, I would then also move to amend TID 12 to add $15,000 per year for each of the 5 years for planning, marketing, and project support. And I would so move.
Second.
Alderman Stevenson moves, Alderman Skirm seconds. Is there any discussion on that? Take a voice vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
That concludes my request, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Stevenson.
There have been other motions that had been potentially identified by other members.
Mhm.
If they're inclined to do that, now would be the time.
Right. Thank you. Alderman Erickson?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to amend that to remove the Jewelers Park Drive kayak launch for $45,000 in 2024. I don't think that for that cost, it is worth that amount. So I move.
Alderman Erickson makes a motion to remove the kayak launch from TID 12. Is there a second?
Second.
Alderman Boyette seconds. Do a voice vote on that.
Is there discussion?
Oh, sorry. Is there discussion on that motion? Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to check on this to make sure that this is just a kayak launch and not the parking that was going to go in also, because they were kind of together originally.
Those are two separate items.
Right,
Two
but-
separate budget items. At this point, I'm removing the kayak launch. I'm not in favor of the parking in that particular area. I kind of studied that this past week, and there's a lot of traffic, especially at peak traffic times, and I'm not following how the parking would fit in. I know that there is street parking on some of the side streets off of Cecil Street, that if you wanted to use the trail, that's free public parking that would be available if you wanted to use that. So for that cost, I'm not sure that that's a good value for our citizens either. But this is, right now, I'm just talking about the kayak launch for $45,000.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second to remove the kayak launch from TID 12. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
That motion passes 7-2.
Can we confirm that by?
Sure. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Raise your hand.
Let me back up. Can you read the amendment, please?
The amendment
To
is
remove-
to
The amendment is
remove
to
the
rem-
kayak launch from
Okay.
TID 12. funding for the kayak. So we had 7
And I.
in favor, 8 in favor, and 1 opposed.
Sorry, I was confused.
That's okay, I'm sorry. Alderman Stevenson, would you like to continue entertaining additions to the CIP with amendments?
Well, the amended motion is still on the floor, so potential amendments are still available. I have no interest in making any of the motion myself.
Okay. Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start with mine, and then if nobody else wants to do the other ones, I can.
Okay.
So I move to remove the $40,000 for the proposed library bump out project on Wisconsin Avenue in 2023. I mean, I can explain after the second if you want what my reasoning is.
Okay.
Second.
I talked to Director Robb, and she's really fine with removing it. Coming from the Theta Bridge, turning in front of the library, I was concerned that people would slam on their brakes, not expecting somebody to cross mid-block. I don't think it's safe, even with a bump out. And as a fairly heavy library user, I think that losing 6 spaces, it's really hard to find a spot during programming anyway, and we have a lot of elderly people going to programming. We've got handicapped people, we've got kids with toddlers and baby time. To lose 6 spaces is too much, in my opinion, so that's my motion.
Okay, there's a motion to remove $40,000 of funding for a library bump out project on Wisconsin Avenue.
I didn't push the motion button. Do I have to?
No, you don't have
Okay.
to.
I had seconded it.
Okay.
And seconded by Alderman Boyette. Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Mixed opinions on this. I mean, there is a safety factor here with the parking across the street now, and people jaywalking in between, and people with strollers, so there's a safety issue here. But there's also the Neenah Next study going on now, and we don't know what that might change in that area, so to spend $40,000 at this time, not knowing that this area might be redeveloped and that, wouldn't be used in that way anymore, I guess I'm not going to, I'll support Alderman Lendrum's motion tonight, because I'm not sure what's going to happen in the next future down there.
Alderman Steiner.
I know that we discussed this, but just to confirm for my own thinking, so the reason of putting it in is safety, and then the reason for not is that we're losing parking spaces. That just to confirm. I just want to make sure I'm refreshing my memory.
I have an opinion on that.
Okay.
I don't think it's particularly safe to cross even with a bump out, because the bump out would actually be equal to the length of the cars that are generally parked there. So first of all, I don't think it's needed because the cars are your bump out, and I don't think it's safe to cross in mid-block anyway. You can go down to the lights. We've got perfectly acceptable pedestrian crossings on the Oak Street Bridge, that one, and then up just a little farther toward the Neenah 1 towers. You can cross right there too at a legitimate crosswalk. So to cross mid-block just to jaywalk and to encourage that, I don't think it's a good idea. And if you can picture that bump out, it would almost be hidden by the cars that are parked there.
Okay. I go to the library quite frequently myself, and to be honest, I've never perceived there being a big issue currently.
Right.
Okay. Thanks.
Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. I also am in favor of this amendment for all of the reasons that were presented, but mainly because the director of the library also is agreement with pulling it. So, thank you.
Alderman Stevenson.
Yeah, I'd just like to follow up on that because I was under the impression that it was lobbied for by the director. or that we had input that the employees were looking for it. So now I'm kind of confused by that. So I'd like to ask Director Rob to speak to the issue.
I am in favor, so I'm not, Carrie, we must have misunderstood each other.
Okay.
This has been discussed and been requested several times over the past 20-plus years. I think it is a safety issue, but I understand the reason for postponing it until after the next study has been completed. The patrons and staff are crossing throughout the day. We have 30-some staff every day crossing that street. So we're really familiar with it. I think people are using the driveway, the entrance to the library, which is not a safe place to cross from. They're also going between parked cars, also not a safe way to cross the street. So I think at some point it would be advisable to put this in to consider staff and patron safety, but I understand the reason for postponing it.
Just thank you.
Thank you.
So just as some comments. So the Neenah Next study, Brad, when will that be completed and potential recommendations that come from that effort be available?
At this point, we're looking at the end of 2023 as far as a draft plan being presented to,
Okay. So
I'm sorry, 2022.
So at the end of 2022?
Yeah.
Okay, so this item is in the 5-year plan for 2023, right? Is that hasn't changed, right? So the study is going to be done. The director has indicated through multiple years that this is a safety issue, has been a safety issue for our staff. Keeping it in as a placeholder, I think, is the way I'm leaning. And Councilmember Lendrum's concern about the bump out not working because of cars being parked on either side of it, I get that, but the same thing occurs in the 100 block of Wisconsin Avenue. We have a bump out there and it functions quite well. Once people know that it's there and that they should, they come around the corner. I do think it's a safety issue that warrants keeping the dollars in, and we'll have an opportunity for the community to share with us. We're not taxing anybody to put it in. It's a 5-year plan. So I intend to vote against the amendment, keep it in, and then we'll see what our environment is in 2023 for the capital plan.
Alderman Boyett.
Thank you. I have a question for Director Kaiser on this. So we currently have at each corner where the lights are for that road, crosswalk. And then by the towers and the hotel, there's a crosswalk. So by putting in this bump out, then are these folks going to have a crosswalk there as well? Or are they going to be not legally crossing if we do this there? Because that's like potentially 4 crosswalks in that one block. And I get, we have programs and we have other, the farmer's market, et cetera, the library, et cetera. But we also have a lot of businesses at the other end, and we only have 3 crosswalks there for 2 blocks. So we have potentially 4 crosswalks for 1 block? Is that correct?
There would be a crosswalk related or associated with this bump out.
With that?
We're mixing things a little bit. From Oak to commercial is a heck of a lot longer than Church to Wisconsin or Church to commercial. So it's a much longer expanse of street than what we're looking at in the 100 block west. Spacing wise, it probably works out about the same as that 100 block west functions right now. But yeah, we would intend to put a crosswalk with this.
And so then to finish up my question on that then is, so we have the crosswalks, and that's going to allow the pedestrians to cross safely, the intention. But then what does that do to the traffic that has to stop, like each crosswalk? Hypothetically, if someone's in each crossing, like on a Saturday for the farmer's market, it's a busy day. I'm just going to use that as an example. You've got cars stop, stop, stop. Is that giving us more potential for traffic safety
certainly
issues? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to weigh
Sure.
the two, because I feel like we're going to have more car accidents or car versus pedestrian. I don't know. I'm just asking for your,
Sure, well, theoretically, what the behaviors are happening right now, people are crossing the road there between cars right now. The advantage of the bump out, similar to what we see in the Shattuck crosswalk or in the Marketplace crossing, it gives you an opportunity to get signing and notification out near the roadway closer. So, if somebody's got the minivans parked or whatever, that's not obstructing the view of warning signs or anything for pedestrians that may be crossing, and it gives the pedestrians kind of a landing spot, an open area to better see traffic coming in both directions. You're correct. Ideally, traffic is stopping if pedestrians are in the crosswalks, so that would certainly slow traffic down going through there. There's a potential that a trailing car isn't paying attention and you have a rear end collision type thing. Sure, that's always a possibility at a mid-block crossing.
I guess I'm concerned that we're concerned about the safety, but in doing so, are we going to be so safe that we create other hazards in trying to be safe?
I don't know that I would elevate them to the point of hazard.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Erickson?
I have a question for Director Kaiser. As you enter the hospital, and is that First Street right there, the main entrance to the hospital, there's a flashing yield sign. Is there anything we can do other than the bump out that would make that area safer with kind of like so that as they make that turn, they know that, or some other signage that flashing children in this area or anything that would kind of highlight that?
We have, since it was first brought to us many years ago, as Director Robb mentioned, we've made a number of changes to the turn coming off the Oak Street Bridge. That used to be a very sweeping right turn.
Right.
So that's been snugged up. 2 different projects involved kind of snugging that up. The issue with, or the concern with, placing a flashing beacon or something like that is that it's very nonspecific. Ideally, when you're placing a warning sign or a beacon, you're dealing with something at that location. So you're at this spot, something's happening, rather than something might be happening in the next 500 feet. So that's where, focusing the attention on a point has an advantage that way, that you can direct the attention right to that spot.
Okay.
Alderman Steiner?
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, from the standpoint, if we think about consistency, kind of broader policy of the city, how many other locations within the city would meet very similar criteria to the bump out potentially at the library? And so if we put it in there, would we have to evaluate all the other locations that would potentially meet that same criteria and kind of be putting bump outs everywhere? So like, why this location? Because I feel like there's probably other spots as well where you would have the very similar conditions and then require a bump out there also. So do we have kind of like, I guess, an approach from the city that this is the place where a bump out should be from a safety perspective, but not put bump outs at these other locations that might have the same conditions as what's at the library? Do you know what I mean?
Right. I was just going to make the comment, I don't think there are many, if any, other places in the city that have angle parking on both sides.
Okay.
And a reason to be crossing. Am I incorrect in that?
Yeah, you're
Oh, the
correct
Y,
about
but
that.
that's
Yeah,
back.
we have very little
back.
angle parking other than in the Riverside Park area.
Yeah, and the downtown has bump out.
Yeah, there isn't a set policy as far as an objective evaluation of locations for bump outs like these. Traffic engineer Merton had drafted, it's been in development for quite some time, a neighborhood traffic management plan that would entail traffic calming features and some criteria on where to place them. That's the closest thing I think we would have to any sort of evaluation mechanism for these.
Okay. But in the other spot where there is similar scenario, there is a bump out, right, currently?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Are there any further comments or questions?
Yeah.
Alderman Skirms?
I'm going to vote against this after speaking with the director, and also I've gotten unsolicited input on this, which I found kind of interesting since we last talked. In favor of the bump out, I think one of the things we're striving for in downtown is to have a walkable, safe downtown. Slowing down traffic is a good thing. I don't think there's been a large number of accidents at the 100-block bump out of people running into the back of other vehicles. And one of the reasons that was brought up of reason not to do it was because of toddlers, elders. That's exactly why we should be doing it. And it's not just the library, it's Chaddock for concerts, for farmers market, for lunch in the park, for people going to their boats. There's a lot of people crossing there. So I'm going to vote against this. And by 23, hopefully we'll have some idea of what might happen across the street.
Are there any further comments, questions?
Can we change the screen? For my motion?
Oh, these are, no, this is.
So we're not doing those
No.
on the screen? Okay.
No. So there's a motion by Lendrum, seconded by Boyette, to remove funding of $40,000 for the proposed library bump out project. I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll for this vote. That makes it a little bit more clear.
Sure. Alderperson Boyette?
Aye.
Orchard?
Nay.
Hillstrom?
Nay.
Lendrum?
Aye.
Erickson?
Nay.
Weber?
Nay.
Skirms?
Nay.
Steiner?
Nay.
Stevenson?
Nay.
So, motion fails. 2 ayes, 5 nays, or 7 nays.
7. Thank you. Alderman Borchert.
I'd like to propose an amendment to the CIP, proposed $300,000 of funding for the upgrade to the locker rooms in the 2023 to be instead used to assist the funding of the 2022 building addition, with funding the locker room upgrade then proposed for 2025 or 2026.
Second.
There's a motion by Borchert and a second by
Hillstrom.
Hillstrom. I think it was a tie. Is there any discussion on that motion? Again, that is an amendment suggested by Chief Olson to use $300,000 of funding for the upgrade of the locker rooms instead of being used for locker rooms, to be used to assist in the funding of the 2022 building addition. Alderman Stevenson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Director Easker reminds me that we really do need to have a year to put the future expansion work into the budget. I don't know who makes that decision or makes that recommendation. It's currently in there right now. There's the 300,000 is currently in the budget to do locker room work in 2023. Alderman Borchardt's motion is to use that, the building expansion, and then put it out in the future years. We just really need to figure out where. Right?
So you mean decide between 2025 or 2026? Okay. So if Alderman Borchert would like to specify one or the other of those?
I would defer to Chief Olson and pick a date.
It's only a budget workshop.
I didn't bring that budget book. I'm trying to pull it up online. You ever CIP? Oh.
I have in my notes from last time, 2025.
I think it is too, but I just
Okay.
want 2025.
I'll make that
That was their
correction.
latest year, and that worked out well.
So Alderman Borchert would make that friendly amendment. Would Alderman Landrum concur with that? Oh, Hillstrom, sorry. Okay.
Okay, so did I still have the floor?
Yep.
Thank you. So the public service, and I'm fully supportive of the scope of work, reality, and enhancement that we're seeing in the project. But the Public Works and Services Committee, at its last meeting, took action that recognized the scope change, but didn't identify dollars to fund it. And I understand being in the municipal setting, we have to have dollars available. But I'm fully supportive of the scope of work, and we're going to fund whatever the scope of work comes in at, theoretically, unless it comes in at $8 million or $6 million or something higher than what we're seeing already. But for us to identify already the additional 300,000 before we see the bids, I'd just as soon not let the contracting world know that, and that we're still holding firm to our 5.5 dollar amount allocation, when in reality we're asking them to get bids and price the project out at a scope of work that we know is going to exceed that, and we can deal with the required additional dollars when we go through the 2023 operating budget and the final borrowing package for 2023. So that's the method I would support. So I strongly recommend we don't adjust and put any more dollars in now when really it's meaningless, quite honestly.
Is there any further discussion?
I'd be curious on your, but
Alderman Weber?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I had the same thought. I had written hold on here. At the Public Services Safety Committee. That was the discussion we had, to wait and see, but also not include those extra dollars in the budget public. Yeah. I concur with Alderman Stevens. We should wait because we can later on next year's budget.
Alderman Lundrum?
So I just have a point of order. I could amend the amendment, or we could do, if it's agreeable, obviously a friendly amendment to just remove the 300,000 and then put it into the CIP or not, or however we want to do that at the next workshop. Is that what you're thinking, Alderman Stevenson? We could discuss it at, well, maybe even in November?
The document we're debating and ultimately going to approve tonight is purely a planning document.
Right.
There's no financial ramifications, there's no dollars to be borrowed, there's nothing. It's a planning project. So we can include the 300,000 for whatever reason we want to, if we want the locker rooms. And if we think we need to fund additional dollars, which we're likely going to have to do, and we want to take it from the locker room project, we could do that. We could take it from reserves, we could take it from ARPA, we could take it from a lot of different places. But to publicly say we've upped the value, it's just it's not a huge issue. So I just don't think we need to let the world know yet that we've already allocated 100, and we haven't allocated it. We've identified more money for the project, and we still have to borrow for it and have the debate when we get the final bids in October, November, whenever we approve our final capital improvement plan for 2023. So if we want to keep the $300,000 in the budget as a locker room item, I guess I'm okay with that, because the motion is to reallocate it to the building. I don't want to do that yet. I think we should if we want to keep 300,000 in there for the locker room, that's fine.
I guess, I just like to be transparent, but.
I like to save money.
Okay. I just don't want to be disingenuous and.
We publicly stated the reason we're doing it. I'm not being disingenuous to anyone.
But if it's public now, it's been public twice now, Public Service and Safety
you're right.
now.
Yep.
So it's already public.
Is there any further discussion on this? There's a motion from Borchert and a second by Hillstrom.
Mayor, could I, maybe I better
Okay.
type up here a little bit. Okay, so let's make sure everyone understands everything. We've already borrowed the money, 5.5 plus for the project as it was budgeted last year. The 300,000 that's being discussed has not been borrowed and would not be borrowed until next year either way, whether it's for the locker room, whether it's for building. So you could be committing 300,000 and maybe you need 150 or maybe you need 450, then there would need to be another amendment anyway. I'm not, because again, remember, just amending this doesn't create the money, because the money needs to be borrowed and would very much be borrowed next year anyway, so it's not as if we have the money in hand and we just move it there. So I applaud the chief for, I think part of what he's doing is a willingness to give up something to get something, instead of just saying, I want both, which I think is admirable on his part. So that's, I think it's, but I don't know that it's 100% necessary at the moment. I think I probably am agreeing with the mindset that let's just wait and see what the number is, and then we'll have to figure it out, because it's probably not likely to be exactly 300,000. It's probably going to be something different than that. So that's, I guess, my two.
Alderman Steiner?
So given that, then what is the yay or nay vote on this, just to make sure I'm clear about? So if we were based on the proposed amendment, if we said yay, then we would be pushing it to 2025.
Correct.
And if we said nay, it'd be status quo.
Potentially, but that discussion
Potentially.
will occur again at budget.
Right. Okay.
Actually, that's the more realistic discussion for a budget.
Okay. And nay is just keeping it as what it is now.
Nay is keeping the
300,000 for the lockers in 23.
23 and
Yep.
5.5 plus million, that's already been borrowed for the police project. Nothing has been added to that whether
Okay.
it be this year or next.
Okay.
So that's the ultimate.
Okay.
Alderman Borchert.
After the discussion, I'll rescind my motion, considering the fact that we're going to have the opportunity to discuss this when it is a budgetary item. Just to make sure that Alderman Steiner understands these and I would make it simple for him.
He's
Alderman
teasing.
Hillstrom is okay with that?
Kidding.
Yeah, it's for me. Special.
Okay, that motion is withdrawn. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make an amendment to add the cost of improvements to the Oak Street Bridge. That includes bridge painting at $400,000 and lighting improvements of $200,000. I'd like to change the year to 2024. In this potential amendments, it does read 2025. I'd like to change that to 2024.
Second.
Yeah, could I ask those numbers again, Alderman Erickson?
I just want to confirm with Director Kaiser, it was $400,000 for the painting and $200,000 for the lighting, correct?
I had 500,000 in my notes for the painting.
Okay,
And-
500,000, let's,
But 200,000 for lighting.
that's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
What year is this?
2024.
And change that to 2024.
There's a motion by Alderman Erickson and a second by Alderman Boyette. Alderman Borchert.
Director Kaiser, is it, if we're going to do both, is it kind of a package deal? Or would be one year better than then the next? Or is it checking from the work scope on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. They are two separate things. The cleaning and painting would be the first item, and then the lighting would be the second item to do. They both could get done in 1 year. They were both done in 1 year the first time it was done, but yeah, they are two separate work items that really aren't related timing-wise to each other, other than getting the painting out of the way first.
And with variables, obviously, ones that we probably can't, what is the expectation once done again with the new LED lighting and the painting? How long would that guesstimate?
Well, the existing on both, that was 2006 when that was all done. Painting, I think we probably, by 2024, we'll have probably carried that a little longer than looks best, so to speak. So I think you're probably looking at at least a 15-year cycle on both of them, I would guess.
Thank you.
Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you. Gary, do you remember the lighting all fundraised last time? I know at least part of it was.
I'd have to go back in the note. My recollection is it was all fundraised. Yes.
Do you remember what that number was? Right.
I believe it was over $400,000.
Okay.
That included conduit junction boxes, those sorts of things that were part of the infrastructure for the lighting. Those I would expect to be able to reuse with this. That's why the cost that I provided to Alderman Erickson is less than what we paid last time for the whole system.
And this new lighting, that would be able to change color and do different things like you see on other bridges now?
Yeah, certainly there are a number of products out there. Actually, when we did the Oak Street Bridge in 2006, we looked at a couple of products that offered that possibility. We're meeting with a vendor a week from today to just kind of get the groundwork on what's available, what possibilities are out there for it.
Thank you.
Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. The reason that the date was moved up to 2024, I understand that the new addition to Theta Clark will be completed at the end of fall of next year, and it would be good to have that area looking good with the new addition going in. So the following year, we would have the lighting and the paint work done. I think that corridor really needs some attention right now.
Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Alderperson Erickson brought up the timing and the reason for it. I'm supportive of the concept of the project. I'm not supportive of the year. 2024, we're projected to be at just south of $36 million of spending, and that's above and beyond any other year by over $9.5 million. We're going to throw another 700,000 on top of that. And just a reminder to the council that even if this is approved, whatever the final product the council approves tonight is truly a planning project. And when the mayor puts her budget together for 2023, she has the right and the obligation to present what's a responsible budget to us based on her information that she has. And it may include items that currently exist in 2023. It may not. So we're all aware. Because we push something up, she has every right to submit it, and we have the right to change it again if we. But it's not just because we vote on something. It's not like it's in there for stone because we took action on that. She has the right to run her budget process. So I'm supportive of the project, but not in 2024. So I'll be voting no.
Is there any further discussion? There was the motion by Erickson and seconded by Alderman Boyette. And we'll ask for a roll call vote for this as well.
Sure. Alderperson Borchard?
Yes.
Hillstrom?
Yes.
Lendrum?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
Weber?
Aye.
Germs?
Nay.
Steiner?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
And Boyette?
Aye.
Motion carried 7-2.
Thank you. Alderman Steiner.
I'd like to propose an amendment to the CIP to add $20,000 for the cost of ADA improvements to 2 traffic signals on Bell Street intersection.
Second.
Motion by Steiner, seconded by Alderman Skirms. Is there any discussion on that item?
What year was that?
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a year, Gary, sorry about that.
2023.
2023.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Alderman Stevenson, we're back to the,
I have no more motions. And if we still have a motion, we now have an amended motion on the floor.
okay, there's actually one comment. Alderman Erickson.
I'd like to add, can I still add an amendment to the CIP? I'd like to add removal of the parking to TIF 12 or TID 12, which would be next to the kayak launch by the roundabout on the corner of Green Bay Road or Jewelers Park Road and Cecil Street. After looking at that area, there is a lot of traffic to that area. And we do have off-street parking available to the trail on several streets, so that is available to people. I'm not sure that this particular area is the best place to put the parking if we want to look down the road for another area, but because of the high traffic area to that section, I would recommend removing it.
So we need a dollar amount and a year. I'm assuming it's $50,000 in 2024?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's a motion by Alderman Erickson. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Alderman Skirms. Is there any discussion on this item?
Just to clarify, this is north of the bridge, south of Cecil, near the new bridge, the trail bridge that's put in.
That's right. It's where right now you have a gravel shoulder that kind of widens out in that area south of Cecil Street.
Okay.
That would be the area.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if this probably goes to Deputy Director, but why was this area selected? I mean, I'm sure you looked at all the areas available.
I think the area was selected because it is used as a parking area now for whether it's crossing guard, maintenance workers, that gravel shoulder area is used reasonably often for people to park right now.
And, I mean, there is no obvious place to put this, whether privately owned, everything else. The end of those streets, it's just not obvious parking, and people are afraid to park there because homeowners have different things there. So, I mean, this was decided the best location to put parking, and we do need parking for this trail now. I don't know. Any other comment?
At this point, I know Director Kading's received the question several times too. I'm directing people to the dead ends of Bridgewood, Baldwin, Hickory, and Fairwood for the nearest parking access for the trail.
I know I've had people ask me, where am I supposed to park? I'm not sure Jewelers is real happy with people parking in there. We do need a designated spot for it, so I guess I'll be voting against this motion.
Alderman Borchert.
Was Jeweler, and again, maybe I'm thinking after the pandemic and not a ton of people maybe at offices and things, but I don't think I've ever went past Jeweler and saw that parking packed. Was there ever a conversation about up and maybe what did that go?
Yeah, the conversation was, well, a couple of directions. First of all, getting a feel for when they were going to be ramping up post-pandemic, because they still haven't been, they haven't brought all their people back in. I believe they might be close to that now. The other part of it was not so much designating a parking area or designating any spaces for public parking in their lot, but understanding that it was likely to happen if they had any strong objections should it happen. And as with most things or all things really on this trail project, they've been very accommodating. They understand the possibilities out there. They just want to make sure that parking isn't done in a way that interferes with any of their maintenance or use of the lot.
Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing I did when I went to go walk the trail is call Alderman Hillstrom and say, where am I supposed to park? And so it's an awkward feeling to park in Jewelers Mutual lot because it doesn't say I can do that. So I thought, am I going to get towed? I don't know. And yes, you can go down several of the side streets off of Cecil. That also felt very awkward to me. You were pulling up right in front of somebody's house, slamming your door or whatever, getting out. It just doesn't feel comfortable for me to use those dead-end streets to hit that trail. So unless one of the businesses along the way will actually say, yeah, park here, up to here, and maybe, line off some spaces for us, I think we do need additional parking. I didn't like any of the choices that I had. I wasn't comfortable thinking that this was an appropriate place to park in any of the choices so far. So, and it, you know, it may be busy off of Cecil, but we can maybe make it, you know, add some safety features to it. I don't know what those would be, but I'm sure we could probably do something. So that's my 2 cents.
Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, all the person Lyndon just said it. We're going to need parking there, likely, depending on the usage. And rather than trying to engineer it and figure it out, I think keeping the money in the budget for 2024 is a responsible strategy. And I would only ask that we do own land now along number 9, parallel to the trail. If we haven't looked at the old 9 Green, which is just off of Cameron Way, you may have to do something to the pond, but there's a lot of space just east of that trail and west of that pond that backs up to the condos. I would look at that, but I don't want to engineer it tonight. But keeping for $50,000 in there to solve an issue that we haven't even, we've identified the need, we haven't identified the location. I'm to support keeping it.
Alderman Skirms?
I was just going to ask how many spaces we're talking about, but I think what Alderman Stevenson just said makes sense to me.
Is there any further discussion on this item?
6.
Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to conduct a roll call vote on this item.
Alderperson Hillstrom.
Nay.
Lendrum.
Nay.
Erickson.
Aye.
Weber.
Nay.
Skirms.
Nay.
Steiner.
Nay.
Stevenson.
Nay.
Boyette.
Nay.
Borchert.
Nay.
Motion fails 1 to 8.
Thank you. I believe we are back to the original then. Are there any other amendments that anyone would like to make at this time? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, then we'll be voting on the CIP with the amendments as were outlined. And please cast your vote on your voting device. That passes 9-0. Thank you all, and thank you all, everybody, for your help with my first time going through the CIP. Really appreciate it.
I'd like to take a second to thank the department heads again for all their work in submitting ideas, projects, potential amendments, and being flexible with both the mayor and the council as we delve through this process. So thank you, not only all the department heads, but to all of our staff. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I meant staff and council. Thank you all. The next item on the agenda is the public forum. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in the public forum on any matter? You would have 5 minutes to speak on any topic. Please come forward and give your name and address.
My name is William Rubik, and my address is 2322 Meadow Green Drive, which is in a Fox Crossing. So I don't know if I'm eligible to speak here or not. I do own property in Neenah at 417 Nicolay Boulevard.
Okay.
Okay, what I would like to see happen here is you're talking about all the safety on Wisconsin Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you allow people to do U-turns? You've got stop and go lights at each block, at each end of the block. You got somebody that's going west that wants to do a left-hand turn into a parking stall so they don't have to walk an extra 10 or 20 feet. In the meantime, other people are trying to beat the light because they know the light's going to change, and traffic's getting backed up. People are trying to make left-hand turns onto Wisconsin Avenue off of Commercial Street, and they can't turn because the traffic's backed up. So is there a solution to this problem? That's my question.
Well, thank you for your comments, and we will investigate that issue. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in the public forum? Seeing no one? Moving on to the mayor council consideration of public forum issues. Is there anyone who would like to speak on anything brought up in the public forum? Seeing no one, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any do we have approval for passing the consent agenda by unanimous consent? Is there anybody who disagrees with that? Seeing no one, the consent agenda is passed. Moving on to item number 10, reports of the regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of July 26th. Chairperson Lindrum.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the, as you said, the regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of July 26, 2022. Minutes can be found on the city website. Item number 1, committee recommends council approve the We Energies utility easement as proposed on Cook Park property with the clarification that the electrical lines will be buried. We did get that email confirmation, and I would so move. I'm sorry, that they would be buried. So I would so move.
There's a motion by Lendrum.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 9-0.
And item number 2, committee recommends council approve the purchase of the diesel exhaust fluid system S/1 or 1320 HPS dispensing unit from EH Wolf & Sons for $15,695 and to include $1,500 for electrical work to install the unit. I would so move. And Director Radke is here if you have a question.
Alderman Lendrum makes the motion, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Is there any discussion? Alderman Boyette.
Thank you. Not being in the committee, I'm just curious, is this for the waste oil or is this for recycling out there? Or what exactly are you going to use it for, Greg?
I'm glad I hung around. In 2010, this was implemented in all medium and large size diesel vehicles. It's an additive that is injected into the fuel system.
Oh.
It helps with the emissions controls.
Sure.
So it's not going to go away, unfortunately. Any of our mid-size, large-size diesel vehicles will require this from now on. So this is more like a fuel pump system versus now they're hand pumping it out of 55-gallon drums.
See, and I had envisioned it to be something for the building. Use your waste diesel oil or fluids and then
No, it's
heat your building, et cetera.
It's
whatever.
actually for all our vehicles.
Okay,
so.
great. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
But Alderman or Director Radke, isn't it also a safety feature for your employees too that are
By
in the
going
building?
to this system, yes, it's a lot safer for them.
Because of the emissions inside the building?
Well, the current system is inside our wash rack, and just to keep it out of the weather, the fluid can't freeze and it can't be exposed to sunlight. So this system that we're looking at is a self-contained unit, and it's heated, it's protected, so it's outside. It'll give us a little bit of more room in the wash rack, not a lot.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Stevenson.
Yeah, Greg, it'll also allow us to buy the diesel DEF material in larger quantities, which will allow us to get better pricing.
Hopefully, yes.
Versus 55-gallon drums would now be able to buy Totes Plus, right?
It would come in bulk, like a fuel delivery, yes. So I would be saving, it's a null and void, but I do have to pay a deposit on the drums.
And that's
and
a
then it is
swap.
refunded. So.
Yeah, they swap every time you bring them.
Yep.
Any other questions? Any other discussion? There's a motion by Alderman Lundrum, seconded by Stevenson. Please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 9-0.
And last, item number 3, committee recommends council approve the new design for the police department addition as currently proposed for $5,781, 87. I was just, and I so moved, but I was just going to say it's more than just the design. It's not the design. It's not just the architecture. It's not just the engineering. It's the total cost. Is that design? I think is. I'm not sure that's the word we want to put in there.
This is the new design without the garage. So
right.
It's not the final design with.
But it's the total cost.
Total cost,
okay.
Right? So, so I guess this would go back to the 5.5, and
right.
just the design would be the only approval without the garage.
Right.
There's a motion by Lundrum on this. Is there a second? Alderman Hillstrom seconds. Any discussion on this item? Alderman Stevenson.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that this is, the committee recommends that we approve the scope change to take it up to a scope that, based on current costs, would cost us $5.78987. The money we have available to pay for it is still 5.5, but our recommendation was to, like I said, at the CIP, a 5-year plan, is to bid the project at our current design, which is on the table right now. And then depending what the final number comes in at, we'll have to come up with more money, or maybe they'll come in at 5.4. Probably not, but maybe. We can hope. We can always hope. Okay? But so, again, we're approving and letting them move forward with this new design.
Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That item passes 9-0. The regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of July 25th was canceled, so there's no report. Item number 11, the regular Plan Commission meeting of July 26th was canceled, so there is no report. Moving on to the Board of Public Works meeting of July 27th. Vice Chairman Hillstrom, are you up for reading this entire report?
Seeing those other 2 reports were canceled, I'll take up that time this evening.
That's okay.
I believe a modern-day record, 7 informational items and 4 council action items.
Make sure you capture this on video.
Do you need some water ahead of time?
Okay, 7 informational items, starting with A. The board approved pay request number 3, contract 2-22, sanitary, water services, and street construction on Dekoff Street and Grove Street to Donald Heppes and Sons Incorporated of Little Chute in the amount of $47,323.78. Item B, the board approved pay request number 1, contract 3-22, street construction, Apple Blossom Drive, Frederick Drive, Green Acres Lane, Honeysuckle Lane, Meadow Lane, Primrose Lane, Wild Rose Lane, Blueberry Lane, Cherry Lane, Farm Ridge Drive, Northeast Asphalt Incorporated of Greenville in the amount of $219,107.43. Item C, board approved change order number 1, contract 3-22, street construction, Apple Blossom Drive, Frederick Drive, Green Acres Lane, Honeysuckle Lane, Meadow Lane, Primrose Lane, Wild Rose Lane, Blueberry Lane, Cherry Lane, and Farm Ridge Drive, Northeast Asphalt of Greenville, for adding the paving on Shooting Star and Armstrong Street fine grade existing gravel on Armstrong Street and traffic control in the amount of $47,675.70. Item D, the board approved change order number 2, contract 3-22, street construction, Apple Blossom Drive, Frederick Drive, Green Acres Lane, Honeysuckle Lane, Meadow Lane, Primrose Lane, Wild Rose Lane, Blueberry Lane, Cherry Lane, and Farm Ridge Drive, and Northeast Asphalt Incorporated of Greenville for mixed design to include polymer to extend life and reflective cracking in the amount of $6,792.50. Item E, the board approved change order number 1, contract 1-22, water main and sewer construction on Apple Blossom Drive, Frederick Drive, Green Acres Lane, Honeysuckle Lane, Meadow Lane, Primrose Lane, and Wild Rose Lane for storm sewer repair on Primrose Lane, sanitary sewer and lateral repair at 1021 Frederick Drive, and final quantity adjustments to Kruzak Construction Incorporated of Green Bay in the amount of $71,893. Item F, the board approved change order number 1, contract 3-20, hot mix asphalt street construction on Van Street, Monroe Street, Gillingham Road, Shooting Star Drive, Cavalry Lane, Cardinal Platte, and Armstrong Street for removal of the hot mix asphalt paving for Armstrong Street and Shooting Star Drive, the Summers construction of Shiocton, the credit amount of $38,808.55. Item G, the board approved change order number 1, contract 6-21, contract pavement and sidewalk repairs, Jim Fisher Incorporated of Appleton for the additional concrete patch repairs on Bell Street and Cecil Street in an amount of $40,692.82. Now we get to the council action items. Number A, the board recommends council approve final payment, contract 1-22, water main and sewer construction on Apple Blossom Drive, Frederick Drive, Green Acres Lane, Honeysuckle Lane, Meadow Lane, Primrose Lane, and Wild Rose Lane to Kruzak Construction Incorporated of Green Bay in the amount of $99,154.29, contingent upon Water Commission approval, and I would so move.
There is a motion by Alderman Hillstrom, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Is there any discussion on this item? If not, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 9-0.
Item B, the board recommends council approve final payment, contract 3-20, hot mix asphalt street construction on Van Street, Monroe Street, Gillingham Road, Shooting Star Drive, Cavalry Lane, Cardinal Platte, and Armstrong Street to Summers Construction of Shiocton in the amount of $22,369.08, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Hillstrom, seconded by Alderman Steiner. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 9-0.
Item C, the board recommends council approve final payment for contract 6-21, concrete pavement and sidewalk repairs, Jim Fisher Incorporated of Appleton, in the amount of $77,414.74, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Hillstrom,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Skirms. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 9-0.
And already to the last one, item D, the board recommends council approve final payment for contract 4-21, epoxy pavement markings, Brickline Incorporated of Madison, in the amount of $18,536.20, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Hillstrom, seconded by Alderman Borchert. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 9-0.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you so much for your report. Whoa. Get that man a drink of water. Moving on, Sustainable Neenah Committee, is there any report? Alderman Borchert.
No report.
Parks and Rec Commission meeting, Alderman Borchert.
Just the update on Fresh Air Park, the new pathways, or I say causeways, roadways, are under construction right now. So if you have a chance to take a look at that, if you drive by, but long overdue and much anticipated. So keep an eye open for that.
Thank you for your report. The Business Improvement District Board, Alderman Skirms.
The bid board met for their regular meeting July 21st. A few items to take note of. The audit has been completed and there were no findings of any concern, so that's good news. Sign grant was awarded to the old post office building for $500. The next year's flower contract has been awarded to Memorial Florist. There's plenty of summer activities yet to come. The governor was downtown, stopped by a few businesses, which was nice. Some nice press publicity. That was good. And finally, and probably most significant, future Neenah Executive Director Sarah Wiley has resigned, and so they are looking for a new director. That's it. Minutes for more details can be found on the city website.
Thank you for your report, Alderman Skirms. Alderman Steiner, is there a report from the Bergstrom Muller Museum?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Board of Directors meeting was held on Wednesday, July 27th. Just a couple highlights. They had their Catching Fire 2.0 auction that evening. I was given an opportunity to watch and listen in. It was actually pretty exciting, just watching them go through the different items, and people from all over the country, all over the world were bidding on a variety of different pieces. And then coming up on August 13th, there's the Glass Arts Festival. Free admission from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So feel free to stop down and check it out. They're going to have a number of artists coming from all over, a variety of different works of art. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for your report. Are there any petitions? No petitions at this time. Any council directives? Alderman Borchert.
I had a conversation, an email exchange with Director Wittinger about, I was looking and had a conversation about the potential of adding an amendment to the CIP about increasing funding to, I guess, explore the options of creating an app to better utilize some of the services that we have here in our city. I understand that Mayor Lang and you and our Director Wettinger are working on that, but I'd love to kind of keep that in our scope as a council as we move forward for the next 5 years or so, and maybe a periodic check-in on that. Just from everything from any efficiencies that we can, have at City Hall to notifications and just keeping abreast of some of the exploration.
Absolutely, thank you. Any unfinished business? Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to ask Director Kaiser if you could give us an update on the Harrison Street retention pond, how everything is going on that.
Well, retaining wall's going up. They're plugging along on that. They are nailing down some railing design. So they met out on site today to kind of lock in on how they want that to be fabricated. The waterfall area, they'll start placing block. My recollection is in a couple of weeks they're bringing another crew in to start placing blocks for the waterfall. The retaining wall work has required additional gravel and an extra course of blocks, so we've got some cost that we're going to be discussing with the contractor on that. And we will be looking at a couple of the accessory features that we had built into the project to see if we need to pull those out in order to keep our costs in line with at least try and keep close to our original contract on that.
When do you think the project will be completed?
Per contract, everything needs to be done by the middle of November.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Skirms.
Anything that can be shared about anything that might have happened this past Sunday?
I would rather hold off on that.
Okay. Second question, status of hiring, we're making progress all across the board, I hope.
Yes, little by little, we are making progress.
Excellent.
Alderman Borchert?
And just to follow up to you, Director Kaiser, when, let's say they end up in finishing the project, what kind of recourse do we have as a city? Familiarity of, do we get a discount, or do we give them a nasty letter, or what is our process when people come in?
Well, as we approach the deadline, if we're seeing or relating concerns to the contractor about completion date, there is a liquidated damages clause in the contract. I don't recall the amount on this one, but we would be pointing to that level of damages as compensation, so to speak, for the overage.
Thank you.
Any other items on unfinished business? I have one item that might fall under that. We have the initial results from the Carlson-Detman salary plan review. We're a bit delayed due to COVID rearing its ugly head with the person who was working on that plan, but now we have the initial results in hand. I'm having a conversation with our former HR director on next Monday to talk through potential issues with implementation of that salary plan. So that's where we're at with that. We have already had the presentation of that from Carlson-Detman to the former HR director and myself. That will probably be coming forward to the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting for a presentation, hopefully on August 22nd. Also just wanted to make mention, you may have seen in the news the layoffs at the Neenah Foundry. So obviously we are concerned for those layoffs and the loss of jobs at any time in the city of Neenah. But I've had conversations with the foundry regarding that, regarding the acquisition of the foundry by Charlotte Pipe. So they and I are very optimistic about the future of the Neenah Foundry moving forward. So we will extend our concern to those who have lost their jobs, but remain optimistic for the future of the foundry and the future for those particular workers as well. Is there any other unfinished business or any new business that could come before the council?
The
Alderman Stevenson?
Finance Committee doesn't meet on August 22nd. It meets on August 20th.
Okay. Take a look at my calendar. That was the date that was proposed to me, so
Yeah,
I will.
it's a 5-week month.
Okay, so I will get back in touch with Carlson-Detman on that. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to compliment the police department, the fire department, and the park and rec department for the National Night Out program that was held last night at Washington Park. It was a huge success. So many people volunteered. So many families had a great time. And so I know a lot of work went into it, and they all did a great job.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for your help with organizing the event, portion of the event for the Arts Council. That was very much appreciated. Any further business? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.